Hello. It's been 1 week since you've looked at me, but stuff still happens. So what's up? The sun is up, and it's really pissed off. The sun is losing its goddamn mind. Over the weekend, there has been a G4 geomagnetic storm on the surface of the sun. Wow. What this means is that over the weekend, a lot of sun radiation hit the Earth's atmosphere, and it got all hot and bothered. And so the aurora happened more than usual. Sometimes people ask me what kind of content I make, and not infrequently, I will say that I do current events communications. And I think I just realized I'm a fucking liar, because that certainly was not communicating. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't communication. Anyway, there's a geomagnetic storm on the surface of the sun at NOAA location 3664. I was surprised myself. Now, this splotch on the surface of the sun is causing the aurora to be visible far further south than usual, which is pretty neat. It's neat because the aurora is pretty cool. Now, if you forgot how big the sun is, if you look right here, right there, that tiny little splotch on the surface of the sun is 16 times the diameter of Earth. I don't even have a measuring tape that can measure that. That's wild. Taxes. According to recently published data from the New York Times, the ultra-rich are for the first time ever paying a lower effective tax rate than the working class. The 400 richest Americans are paying less in effective taxes than the bottom half of earners in America. This graph shows the change in the tax rate, the effective tax rate of the rich over time. Notice how it only goes down, and I wonder what happened in the 80s, that huge dip. I guess we'll never know. It was Reagan. Thank fuck he's dead. So yeah, we've just been kind of cutting taxes for the rich for my entire life. Could be time to change up the strat. What do you think? I think it's really cool how I've been told for my entire life that if we just keep cutting these taxes on the rich, things are gonna get better. And things get materially worse every year. But it's because we're still taxing the rich. If we just got rid of those taxes, you could finally be happy. It's pretty wild to think that a small contingent of ultra rich people have a vested interest in convincing a percentage of poor people that it's in the poor people's best interest for the rich people to be rich. They don't need to convince everyone, just enough that it's harder for people who don't want the world to work that way to change things. That was my soapbox for the day. Weird how this keeps happening. A young black man was murdered by cops in his own home for doing nothing. If this sounds familiar, it's because it keeps happening. Robert Fortson was a 23-year-old member of the US Air Force and was recently murdered by a cop in his own home, not committing crime. This is a reminder that committing crimes does not give the cops a pass to murder you. I feel like we could use some reminders on that one, that cops are not judge, jury, and executioner. They're cops. So a cop shows up to Roger's apartment, bangs on the door, and then sidesteps the peephole so they can't be seen. Bangs on the door again after there's no response, kicks in the door, sees Roger standing there, and shoots him dead. From inside the apartment, Roger was on the phone with a video call with someone when he heard a knock at the door. He went to go look through the peephole and didn't see anyone there. He got a little nervous, so he went to go get his firearm that is legally owned. And also, he's an active service member. But it doesn't matter, this is America. There are literally more guns than there are people here. And you can legally own guns. So Roger goes to get his gun for self-defense in his home from a mysterious knock at the door that he can't identify. And then the cop kicks in his door, sees a man standing there holding a gun, and immediately shoots him dead. As a reminder, Roger wasn't doing anything. Someone in the apartment complex had called the cops for a disturbance, and then they showed up and murdered someone. One moment, sitting on his couch having a video call with someone. The next moment, someone with a weapon is kicking in his door, and his instincts were to get something for self-defense. His instincts were clearly correct, but it didn't matter. Again, if this sounds familiar, it wasn't long ago that another cop murdered another black man in his own apartment after she walked into his apartment thinking it was hers. But hey, maybe we should still do, military training for our cops and give them military equipment. This is America. Hands off our guns. Unless you're black and a cop kills you, in which case you shouldn't have gotten the gun that you own legally for self-defense. Shouldn't have done that. That's on you. Tinder is out. Hinge is in. It doesn't matter because They're owned by the same company. Tinder, Hinge, and basically every dating app you've heard of are all owned by Match Group. They just are a big company that has a bunch of dating apps that just try to cover all the different demographics. Tinder has been shitting the bed recently, and they keep rolling out features that people are like, what the hell? Like, they rolled out a feature recently where you can pay an exorbitant amount of money per month to get their like ultra premium subscription service. It's like $500 a month to get the best match. Pay money to have access to the hot people, apparently. Anyway, people are like, okay, I'm kind of tired of Tinder culture. I kind of actually just want a relationship now. So they're going to Hinge, because that app is famously better. But in the past year, we've seen a drop in Tinder usage, about 10%, and a growth in Hinge usage, like 30%. Tinder is still far bigger than Hinge, mind you. But if this trend continues, and if Tinder keeps shitting the bed, then it might be on its way out. That said, the thing I want to highlight here is that like basically every dating app is just the same company. They just reskinned and slightly tweaked the algorithm for more specific outcomes per app. I feel like we're all kind of familiar with this whole illusion of choice thing. Like you go to the grocery store and basically every brand is owned by like one of 2 or 3 brands, which are then just owned by BlackRock. We're seeing the same thing with apps now. Oh, you want to do social networking? Mark Zuckerberg's got you covered, and only Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, well, I guess you could go on Twitter. Gaming. A Black Lotus Magic the Gathering card has sold for $3 million. That can buy you, and this is true, a sack of potato. Get yourself some shepherd's pie. Nintendo has finally acknowledged that they're working on a Switch 2, or more specifically, a successor to the Switch, is what they're calling it. It may not literally be a Switch 2, it does sound like there's going to be a lot of backwards compatibility with Switch games in your Nintendo account and whatnot. Like, they've already said that, but they're not saying Switch 2. Knowing Nintendo, this can go one of 2 ways. It's either going to be called the new Nintendo Switch XL 2 DSi, or it's going to be called, like, the Swatch. The Nintendo Swatch! Oh dear, it's not good today. Speaking of Nintendo, they are also following in Sony and Microsoft's footsteps in removing their integrations with Twitter. They're X. I'm not gonna call it X. They removed their Twitter integration. You used to be able to share like screenshots and videos and whatnot directly to your Twitter account. They got rid of that because not worth it. For a while, Warner Bros. Were threatening to delist like a couple dozen indie games from the Adult Swim games library on like Steam and other online stores. They're not gonna do that, because that's dumb. Stop delisting games. Like, it's a weird phenomenon in the era of digital game stores that companies can be like, this game just doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's just not for sale, and there's not really a secondary market because it's all digital copies, so get bent. In some cases, they can just remove the game from your library too. So like, if you didn't have it installed already and you purchased it, it's just gone. You will own nothing and be happy. Last up for gaming news today, that whole Sony making people sign in to PSN accounts in certain games, the fallout from that is still going. Ghost of Tsushima, which is an amazing game, is coming to PC, but is now having its launch marred by the fact that Sony wants people to sign in, and you can't do that in every country. And so Steam is like, well, if the game is not accessible to certain people in certain countries because they can't make an account to access certain parts of the game, then you can't sell it there. And so they've been refunding people who purchased the game in certain countries. I want to share a quick anecdote, which is that just like this past weekend, I enabled cross saves on Baldur's Gate 3 between my Steam Deck and PS5. Now, I did have to make a Larian account to enable cross saves, but because they actually are just trying to facilitate ease of use of their product and not just collect information on you, all you do is make a Larian account and then connect to any accounts from the other places that you're playing the game. And you never have to log in after that. You boot up the game on whatever platform you're playing on, and if you've linked to that account already, Larian's just like, oh, cool, yeah, we know, we got you. You can cross-save, it's no problem. No, sign in here and accept our terms of agreements and buy a subscription for your Larian Sync Pro account and lightning round. Among all their other ongoing issues, Boeing had to scrap a Starliner ship launch. Boeing makes spaceships, apparently, but they've got the Boeing Starliner, and its launch was scrapped because of a, you guessed it, faulty part. Here's the weather. Apple has a new iPad Pro with a new chip, the M4 chip, and it's their fastest chip ever. And they put it in an iPad, and it's still an iPad. The Boy Scouts of America are now just called Scouting America. And apparently they're gonna allow gay people. and maybe girls. TikTok is suing the US over the US's attempt to ban TikTok. That lemonade that Panera put out that kills people they're getting rid of it. Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink has implanted their first chip into a human brain, and it has like partially come back out. Like it's like detaching. It worked for a little bit, and then it detached. Researchers have used machine learning to decode whale sound, so we can potentially listen to whales talk to each other now. Like, yo, how are you? I have concerns about the general movement of our society. That's a bummer. That's me being whales, so. Critical Role is launching their own version of basically Dropout called Beacon. And apparently we're just gonna see every group of creators make their own subscription service. And finally for today, the US government has stated that Israel's use of the weapons that we're giving them is inconsistent with international law. Dang, what can we possibly do about that? That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your pitch for a brand new dating app will be. My name is Endeavorance. I'll be back on Monday. Take care and be well.